Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Hot Mess Homeschooler podcast Zoom. Today, I have on my good friend and special guest, Liz Montigny, who is a Ziegler life coach. And today, we're going to talk to you about one thing that you may be missing that could lead to even more joy in your life. And this one thing is kind of, it's just something that most people don't consider that they might be missing. And so I think it's really important. And we're going to talk about that today. Liz?
Yay. Thank you for having me, Stacy. I'm pumped to talk about this with you.
Yay.
All right. So, I shared this with you because I'm taking a masterclass in joy right now with Chris Stefanik.
I'm super jealous.
Yeah. You can hop in anytime. You can see all the videos on his website. I think it's reallifecatholic.com. And then if you look for masterclass on joy, you can find it.
And if anybody embodies joy, it is Chris Stefanik.
Yeah,
he is amazing.
Such a good example. So part of that goes with the book that he has called Living Joy. And I highly recommend it. It's very practical, but also very thought-provoking. And I shared with you how he has this whole chapter on rest and how we don't get enough of it, and how it's definitely a contributing factor to how much you can serve people, but also how you're feeling mentally and physically. And he had some great tips on bringing rest into your life, and I don't just mean sleep, and how some practical ways that we can do that. And do you want me to dive in to the top
and I
three?
think it's important that rest. So most people probably think like, yeah, well, I get sleep at night, right? And it's something completely different than that, because good sleep is really important. It's the foundation of good health, and it really controls a lot of how we're going to function and be productive, and our focus, our hormones. So like really, sleep does affect body, mind, and spirit. But I would also say rest does too. And here's how it's different. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So in his in the chapter, there's kind of a reflection on it, and then he has some how do you do this. So number one, he has wage war on work one day every day. So for those of us who feel like they're always have their hand in something on the work related end of things, make a real effort to separate that, one day a week. Obviously he's he's Catholic based, we are, so we're thinking Sunday, the Sabbath, would make the most sense. And that's something that I've tried to do in my own life in the past year or so. What that means for me is I try not to be on social media. I don't check my emails, and I don't respond to anything. I might check a personal message because, if somebody's texting me or whatnot. But I really try to just stay away from it and not be on or hold a device. It's still a work in progress, but it does make a huge difference just in detaching yourself a bit, but also just being present for the people that you love and that you're around.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's something I really need to work on as well. I have some things now on Sundays that in the evening that I do kind of need to be checking a little more, but that is definitely a goal of mine, is to unplug, because I feel like as much of a blessing as social media can be, it is also that curse that leaves us feeling always on. So even if we say we're resting, I mean, how many times are you truly being present with your spouse or your friends or your children if you're constantly scrolling the phone, And I definitely think that's a huge area for most people, myself included. But it is on my goals. My goals list to be a little more unplugged. And another thing I was thinking about in terms of Sabbath is also, not only getting that true rest. And whether your Sabbath is Sunday or even just following the, more biblical, I guess, like working 6 days and having one day of true rest just in the week. Like we need to, God said it was a priority, like, and whether or not you even believe in that, I mean, physically, emotionally, mentally, like we do need to have true rest frequently and regularly. And also finding the time, for those of you who practice faith, to truly have a day of worship, not only like resting, but it doesn't mean just being lazy, but it also is like true worship too of our creator,
Right. Give time for praise, for sure. And the other point that he made in his book too is, especially for many of us who have been working from home for how long now, or that's what we did anyway. We were always working from home, but but is really taking that time at some point in the day to close the laptop. And he said what he does is he closes the laptop and he literally makes this motion of I'm done, and he says the words. So sometimes it just needs to be like a physical reminder as well as auditory. So I liked that.
No, that's good. No, I think it's so important. And I actually have something coming on this, but I think the physical manifestation of what's in here is so important and makes it that much more powerful, so that's a good tip too. I might have to try that for myself. Especially at bedtime, what we were talking about.
For sure. The second one he had, and I think this is really important too, is Savor Moments. And he really got into the simple things of just sensory enjoyment. Smell the flowers, taste your food, don't wolf it down. Just enjoy what God has created for us and have fun with it. Like he made so many beautiful things for us, so many delicious things for us, like enjoy it.
Right.
And give it
and
that
how many
time.
times do we get so busy, like you're reading or you're scrolling or you're doing other things and you're eating and you're not even like you said, savoring, enjoying any of it, being outside or going on a nature walk. Like we have beauty, and now it's May, so in most areas, like I know it just snowed in Ohio, which is insane, but I'm in Florida, so we get it most of the year, but it's beautiful, making time to just get outside, whether it's in the morning or the evening or in the middle of the day, whatever works for you, but just like really enjoying that time. And also not staring at a device, looking at something and, stretching your eyes and opening, your horizons, like looking around and really feel the breeze, feel the sunshine,
Right. Yes, exactly. And just enjoying it and not rushing through every little thing. And not just thinking, what's the next thing? Be in the present moment. And the third thing is, and we were talking about this before we hopped on together, is don't rest lazily. And that is, for example, he gave the example of if you're going to read something, why don't you go sit in a comfy chair and read an actual book versus going to read your tweets or whatever it may be. And so if you're working hard, rest hard, like be intentional about it. And I really loved that because I do think we fall into that, especially as moms and business owners. You think maybe you're going to do one more thing when you should really go to bed, or whatever it may be. And what do you end up doing? You end up scrolling or something.
Well, like I was sharing with you, it's like, this whole week I've been ready for bed at 10 o'clock, but I'm not even getting into bed till 11 because I sit down to do one thing, right? Like, oh, I'm not really ready. And then I end up working but I'm not doing anything productive. I'm not really even doing anything. I'm looking, I'm just, and it's this weird nebulous time. And then all of a sudden I look and it's 1 hour later and I'm like, I could have been sleeping.
Yeah.
And And so it's been really eye-opening for me just to be aware of that and
Yeah.
say, what am I doing? Like I could
Mhm.
really enjoy that extra hour.
Right, exactly. Your
And I'll
whole
be
body and
honest
mind.
anymore, I'd rather get the hour at night and get up early to have quiet time because then I'm fresher. I can pour my cup of coffee, I sit down
Absolutely.
and I have a whole new perspective and
Yeah.
it just feels better, you know,
Yeah.
than the night
Yeah.
when you're tired, you're kind of done anyway. So it's like, who
Mhm.
are we kidding? You know?
Right. Right.
And then
And
I love the concept of what you said about rest hard. Like that's just so it's good because and then thinking about you know, when you were talking about like reading the book, right?
mm,
Getting a comfy chair. And then, you know, adding to that with the sensory, light a smelly candle, a nice,
right.
safe, toxin-free one, of course.
Of
But
course.
I personally love beeswax, right? Light a
Mhm.
beeswax candle, get a cup of tea or coffee or
Mhm.
something that feels warm and cozy. Get a blanket that you love and
Yeah.
snuggle up and really make it an experience. So it's not
Yes.
just like, you know, for me, I find it really hard because you talked about tweets. I
Mhm.
feel like social media has completely diminished my attention span. And so
Mm.
it's really hard for me to sit down sometimes with a book without picking up the phone. So
Mhm.
maybe like put the phone somewhere else and make it a
Right.
whole experience that's enjoyable.
Yeah.
So you want to keep going back and you can find ways of doing that, you know?
I think that's great. Yeah, absolutely. And to your point about staying up that extra hour to do some quote unquote work, how good is that work going to be when you're beat? Whereas if you got up in the morning, have some quiet time, have your coffee, have your tea, you could bang whatever that thing was out in probably like 5 minutes, because
Exactly.
you're
And that has
fresh.
been my experience, you
Yeah.
know, and it's like sometimes it just takes me long, or I find like my thoughts are sluggish and dull because I'm ready for bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
to actually then get there. So that's also on my goal list is to stop. I don't even know why I do it. Why am I trying to stay up? I don't know. But
hmm hmm
anyway, and I think again to your point of, you know, we are, you know, we work from home, we both homeschool.
Right.
And so it's like we're constantly on all day, every
Mhm.
day. Even when I say, oh, I'm going to go sit on the couch, it's like, you know, I'm like, well, did I do this social media post? Did I do that? Oh, I got to read with, you know, my
Mhm.
son. You know, so it's like our brains never really get a break. And then if we're not doing school or working, I'm looking around my house at all the piles of things that I'm like, this needs to be taken care of. I need to go through this, you know,
Mm.
this
Mhm.
chore or laundry or dishes. It never ends. So it's like our brains are on constant overdrive of being
Mhm.
busy,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and we really, really need to find these opportunities. And I love these words. I'm a words of affirmation girl. So like words are
Mhm.
just like, I love them. But
Yeah.
of really, like you were saying, being present, being
Mhm.
still,
Mhm.
um, silent,
Yeah.
receptive,
Right.
open, you know, and
Mhm.
until we can get to that point, and I've really been hearing that like in my prayer life is the words like, you know, receiving, being receptive, just be,
Mm.
right? Like we're
Mhm.
always doing, but like, how about we
Yes.
just be?
Right.
And to truly find that refreshment and restoration that we're all longing for, but we
Mhm.
have to like really do something about it and be intentional, like you said,
Yeah.
to bring that about.
Yeah. And I love what you just said about restoration. Rest is restorative, meaning it's going to rejuvenate you. So if you are totally fried, you are exhausted, that does, your body and your mind is telling you need to get that rest in. And another interesting conversation I was having just yesterday in a networking group was someone was talking about being busy versus being productive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Everybody's quote unquote busy. There's always 10,000 things you have to do, but is it really productive to
Right.
keep doing, right? Where you could take some rest and then attack it again with a fresh body and mind. So, yeah, very good points.
And then I think also like again we touched on this, but even like for me what is really restorative obviously is, you know, it's prayer, like
Mhm.
just you know, spending quiet time with God. And, whether for me as a Catholic, that's through daily mass, it's adoration, it's just really being with Jesus, and finding that time. And I look at it like, I don't look at my phone in the morning. I don't even put my phone off of airplane mode most days. Sometimes I have to, but most days my phone's on airplane mode when I go to sleep, and I don't even take it off airplane mode till after my quiet time, because I feel like I need to unplug from that and like plug into my power source, right? So again, it's quiet time. We're being still, open, receptive, but we're receiving from him, right?
Yeah.
And it's like we plug in to our true power source.
Right.
And then that's how we find that, restoration and refreshment.
I love that. And I think I talked about this with you not too long ago, was about, so I've been going to adoration regularly once a week for maybe a couple of years now. And at first I was bringing like all the things. I'm going to bring all the devotionals and all the books and my journals, and I'm going to bring all the stuff. And maybe in the past 3 or 4 months or so, and really challenging myself to not bring anything and just sit there and receive. And it was hard. And it's something I'm still processing, but I love it. So I'm going to keep
I had
going.
a similar experience to you. Yeah. Same thing. I had like this bag of stuff that I would be like, yeah, this is adoration. It's my quiet time with Jesus. And it's true. It was great.
Yeah.
But, and it was time for me to kind of, I don't want to say catch up, but in some ways, like that's how it felt to me. But like I said, just more and more, I kept being convicted when I would hear the words like, be still. And, and then just the idea of being receptive, and just being, not having to do everything. Like Jesus really knows like what's in our hearts and in our heads. Like, so do we have to keep, and as a words person, I like to talk, obviously. So there's things that are just constantly going on, but to quiet my mind and sit there and truly just receive that, that is hard. It's hard for me. Even to make the brain stop, it takes, I would say, at least a solid 10, 15 minutes just to get myself into that, into that state. But since I've been practicing that weekly as well, gosh, it makes such a huge difference. Like, I mean, it's incredible. Just to find that time to slow down and just really allow yourself to be quiet.
Yeah. And for those of you who may be listening to this and thinking, oh man, I have a hard time with this, or you've been thinking about it and you need to change, some bad habits to some good and better habits. I would just say, do it one step at a time. If you need to go to bed earlier, but you say you want to go to bed at 10, but you stay up till midnight, maybe it's not so easy for you to just do the 180 and shave off those 2 hours. So just do it step by step, 15 minutes earlier, 30 minutes earlier, and so forth. And your body and mind will start to catch up with you. And, same thing with the resting. If the idea of unplugging for a whole day makes you super nervous, just do it in little spots. Okay, well, I won't check my email, but maybe I'll have my phone on or something like that, until you can get up to that point, just
or maybe even saying like for 1 hour, I'm going to put my phone off someplace and not look at it. And I will say that has just improved like everybody, when you have the screen in between you, you can be looking at things and showing people stuff, so it can bring connection, but then most of the time everybody just falls back into their to their scroll, and it really does bring an improvement in your relationships and in your communication.
Yes, absolutely. You hit that, sure.
So the 1 hour thing, that's good to start. And then I like, and I think ultimately too, where you can begin is to just really begin with intention and awareness. Like start just being aware of your day and looking at what opportunities can I change? Because again,
Mhm.
if we're just mindlessly going through it, but
Yeah.
if we kind of approach it with that, then you're like, oh, and you can catch yourself and then be like, okay,
Mhm.
no, wait, I don't really need this right now,
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And I like your point too that you made earlier. If you are going to go read or do something offline, remove yourself from that area, whether it's get yourself out of the way of the laptop or make sure your phone is somewhere else and go do that work or go do that rest in another space just to put some separation there. So that's
yeah.
great.
Or even like for me, a lot of things I do are in the kitchen, but then I'm staring at the dishes. Cause again, we homeschool. We're home all day. We're eating here all day, every day. So
Mhm.
like there's always something, even when it's clean.
Yeah.
But it's like, so sometimes I have to get myself out of the kitchen, or out
Yeah.
of so even if it means just creating a tiny little corner for yourself to
Hmm.
be,
Yes,
just to
yes, I
make
love
that
that.
first step.
Yeah, that's a
So
great tip.
did you have anything else that you wanted to add, Liz?
No, I hope people dive in and just like you said, examine that for yourself and be aware of it. And then just pick one thing. Pick one thing each week to just adjust a little. And before you know it, you'll have a nice rest routine for yourself. And I think that's the important thing. I'm on a mentoring call each week where I am challenged each week to change one bad habit to a good habit. And it's as simple as that to make progress. So I really encourage anyone who's listening to give that a shot.
No, I think that's great. And it's super practical and that's
Right.
doable, right? Like it's
Yes,
easy to start thinking of one thing. If you look at all the things, like that feels so hard and overwhelming, but
exactly.
starting somewhere is so important. And
Hmm.
I think even just those little changes, you'll start to notice that difference in yourself.
Yeah.
Start to see that rest and see the fruits of that. And then really, you can find your joy.
Yes, yes, exactly. Perfect.
So, well, thank you for being on. And if anybody's interested, these amazing practical tips that Liz has shared with us, head over to lizmontignycoaching.com and you can find her there and set up an appointment if you want more individualized work
Yeah.
with her. And
Yes.
you can find me at hotmesshomeschooler.com. I'm going to link Chris Stefanik's book in my hotmesshomeschooler.com/link me in my Amazon favorites. I'm going to put a podcast section and I'll put his book in there if you would like to find that as well. And I will see you guys next week and be alive and well. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you so much, Stacy.